FAA stops drone beer deliveries. Amazon, don't hold your breath. Folks are already doing it. School seizes lunches from students and throws them away. That's all coming up. The big news here today, though, really, is the fact that the Republicans are about to commit suicide, not just for their party, but the country. Because if you legalize 30 million illegal aliens, what's going to happen? Well, 30 more million are going to come. I mean, it's no country's ever done this. No country has ever done this. The globalists are literally, this is how they're bringing down America. Because the immigrants get here and get all these freebies from the government. Well, of course, and then more are going to come. I mean, this is 101. And basically the country's already dead pretty much, but this is a nail in the coffin. And if they get this, the entire corporate power structure, the entire Republican leadership, the Democratic leadership, the offshore banks, they're all pushing it because they care about us, just like they got Obamacare passed because they care about us. I mean, they will go to jail if we ever take the country back. That's why they want the country broken, divided, bankrupted. It is amazing. I mean, I've never heard of anything like this. This is just so incredible. Legal citizen in Indiana, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Yeah, Alex, I just want to call in. I'm from Indiana, and pretty much the whole state, every little town, the city I live in now, Indianapolis, the big city, is pretty much infested with aliens. And, you know, I'm living through the nightmare myself right now. When I first moved to Indianapolis, there wasn't one illegal alien. And within the past 6 years, 90% of my whole area is now illegal aliens. I constantly have to look out my window. I've already had property damage, everything you can think of that you guys in Texas and Arizona and California that I would always watch on TV and see you guys going through. I go through it now every freaking day. You know,
well, now, wait a minute. I mean, the universities are saying that they can't put out a report if there's been a mugging or a carjacking if it's a minority. So don't. It's white people that are committing the crime. Just say that.
Oh, yeah, well, that's what the cops do. When I've had to call the cops numerous times, that's what happens. Nothing is done. You would not believe what I see. And I'm in Indiana again. The things I see out my own window.
Well, just wait till we get your guns. Once your guns are taken, it'll all be one big Chicago. We'll be like one big Mexico with 15,000 killed a year. It's going to be great. You're not looking forward to that?
No, I said, Alex, what it's going to be is like the study that came out about the robots. Since we're going to already, I think we've got at least 60 million illegal already. Because, again, every little town that I know of in this state alone, look how far we are from Mexico, is infested. It's got to be 60 million. Now, within that 30 years, that latest report, they claim that the robots are going to be 70% of the jobs. That's going to be the apocalypse right there. And
well, all I know is this. You go out in the countryside, and the average white or black person is in a trailer watching satellite TV all day, eating Walmart food with cancer, and literally don't know what planet they're on. And then you've got the illegals running around actually doing a lot of work and building stuff in the country, but they've taken over. In the cities, it's a lot of crime and stuff. But my whole deal is then the immigrants have kids, and then they turn into the same zombies. And then the problem is the immigrants vote for the Democrats who take the guns. I mean, I'll be quite. This country is just disease ridden. Across the board, it is truly mind boggling.
Everything we said came true. Everything we've done has been right.
But you legalize 30 million illegals, that sends the message, come on up here, all the rest of you. Then you look at the voting demographics of the illegals, and I've got those numbers here. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. We're going to go to your phone calls before I break all that down and get into all the other news. But House GOP to Obama, let's do the year of action together. That's the GOP leadership. The Ryan plan includes citizenship for illegals, yeah, and then border security. What border security? You get here illegally, you're legal. Business execs are pushing GOP to pass bill. Oh, because they care about us. Immigration officers warn amnesty would overload the system. That's the point. Senator Sessions said we should not cater to the whims of CEOs. Now, these globalist CEOs look at their short-term, extremely short-term bottom line and the overall globalist agenda. They're like grasshoppers that come eat a crop and fly off like locusts to the next. They're not looking at the continuity of the political system. I mean, if population means wealth, you would think India would be doing well with a population as big as China's, 1.3 billion. They've now met China. No. It is the culture of liberty. If resources meant wealth, you would think Africa would be wealthy, more resources than any other continent in the world. Mexico has roughly 3 times the raw resources that the United States has. It's an absolute pig pen, absolute hell pit. Very beautiful country, very nice people in many areas. Still, never had a real revolution, never had a culture of promoting liberty. Again, doesn't mean America was perfect, but we had private property for the general public. What do you think happens to little poor farmers in Mexico? They've all been driven off their land, except in Chiapas, because they finally got some guns and started shooting people that try to take their land. And they have huge military invasions all the time. I've interviewed filmmakers that have been down there, very valiant people. And, you know, just showing the incredible tyranny they live under. And, you know, I'd rather empower Mexico and build Mexico up in 1776 Mexico, and then I wouldn't have an issue merging with Mexico. But it's like we have North Korea meets Freddy Krueger, meets Raging Bull, meets a bad acid trip in Mexico. What is it, like 75,000 killed the last 6 years now that we know of in the fake drug war? And, I mean, the police openly shake people down. I've been shaken down by them. And my family won't go to Mexico now, and I won't go. And my parents have been there probably 100 times. My parents would go down all over southern Mexico, both sides of it, 3-4 times a year. I've been taken down there countless times in my life. And my parents, the last few times they went down there, it was so scary, even in traditionally safer areas, that they will not go. And we're told we got to let unlimited people from this country come here and do whatever they want. Let me cover this article, and then I'll go to your phone calls. Sessions warns House GOP immigration bill is bad politics, bad policy. He then goes over studies in this Weekly Standard article that show it drives down wages. And you're like, well, how's it do that with the minimum wage going up? Illegals that work in the black market, folks. And as soon as you legalize illegals, more will come, fill up the black market. You understand that? Continuing, GOP crafts plan to wreck the country, lose voters. And I don't usually agree with Ann Coulter, but this is the big story linked up on Drudge, and it's very accurate. House Republicans prepare to sell the country on immigration this week. Phyllis Schlafly has produced a stunning report. Let's get Phyllis Schlafly on about this. Now, immigration is changing the country. The report is still embargoed, but someone slipped me a copy, and it's too important to wait. Leave aside the harm cheap labor being dumped in the country does the millions of unemployed Americans. What does it mean for the Republican Party? Citing surveys from the Pew Research Center, the Pew Hispanic Center, Gallup, NBC News, Harris Polling, the Annenberg Policy Center, Latino Decisions, the Center for Immigration Studies, and the Hudson Institute, Schlafly's report overwhelmingly demonstrates that merely continuing our current immigration policy spells doom for the Republican Party. And that means guns and private property in the family. That's why they're now announcing your kids don't belong to you. We're going to forcibly inoculate. We're going to teach 5-year-olds how to masturbate in school, because they've got us, folks. Just like when the Violence Policy Center in 2000, the front page of the Austin paper, said, we don't care if Alex caught bribery at the Capitol and derails this bill this time. We've got your kids, and we've got the demographics. We're going to ban guns in America. The head of that group said they were so mad. Literally, they had 3 bills about to pass. I was there with Jews for Preservation of Firearms, Jerry Peterson when he was a state senator, all of them. And they go, Alex, get out here with your camera. Well, I was waiting to speak for like 2 hours. They're about to ban the shooting clubs for kids, you know, YMCA, all of it. Ban the gun shows. And I ran out, and there was the local Democratic operative paying out like $500 a piece to each one of these guys. They had black guys that got up and said, we're black thugs, and we're dangerous gangbangers, and you better ban guns or people like us will get you. Using race again, like, here's the scary black people ban guns. I mean, it was so insane. And I caught that on tape. There was a House Ethics Committee. They didn't indict the head of the committee and people involved, but They sent him a letter censuring him, and they credited that with shooting down the bills. That was the turning point. And they were in the paper, and that was 15 years ago, 14 years ago. And they said, we don't care, Jones. Time is on our side, like Rolling Stone says. And it's sick. I mean, again, Mexico doesn't let any immigrants in, and when Guatemalans sneak across, 6 months to a year, hard labor in a slave camp. New York Times. I think the headline was, Mexico's own dark immigration history. Or Mexico's own dark past with immigrants or something. You can pull it up. It's like, yeah, we're not good either in America. We should have open borders, but they're bad too. We're bad compared to Mexico? Do you know what they do to the stupid party goers that go down there and drink and drive? You get a year in jail, they run a credit score, they run a background on all your family, and if you're worth millions of dollars, it costs millions to get your kid out. If you're worth hundreds of thousands, it'll cost you $40,000. But it's like, oh, well, that's Mexico. That's okay. God help us. And of course, it doesn't matter if you don't want to go to Mexico, because Mexico's come up here. And most of the Mexicans I talk to that own businesses and stuff, they're actually like, oh, no, don't open the border. No, you're right, it's going to collapse. Oh, I couldn't even have a restaurant and a bar. I know this Mexican guy who's a former boxer, really nice guy. He's like 70 years old. A really nice fellow, gentlemanly fellow, real smart guy. And he comes over when I go to his restaurant every once in a while. He's also got a bar there. And I'll drink a beer or something. And he's like, talk about how the Mexican mafia would shake him down and how great America is. Well, just get ready for it, folks, because that's where it is. All these Mexicans that ran up here to be away from the crime, it's like running from Chicago or something. Let's go to your phone calls. But there's just some of the numbers right there where she breaks down, or in all these big polls and studies, they break down that the illegals, 80+% of the time, vote to take all the guns. Immigrants, all immigrants have always been the bulwark of the Democratic Party. For one thing, recent arrivals tend to be poor and they need government assistance. Also, they're coming from societies who are far more left-wing than our own. History shows that rather than fleeing those policies, they bring their cultures with them. Yeah, it's like mainly white Californians have moved to Austin after collapsing their state. They don't know why they couldn't get a job there. They don't know why they can only get a job here and live better. They think it's heaven. But then they want to get rid of families, ban guns, ban cars in the city, harass everyone. I mean, it's just you can't help them. This is not a secret. For the last century, there's never been a period when a majority of immigrants weren't Democrats. At the current accelerated rate of immigration, 1.1 million new immigrants every year, that's just current, it's legal, Republicans will be a fringe party in about a decade. This is all in the major studies. They know this. Thanks to the endless polling, we have a pretty good idea of what most immigrants believe. According to Harris poll, 81% of native-born citizens think that schools should teach students to be proud of being American. Only 50% of naturalized U.S. citizens think so, because they're taught to hate America now. While 67% of native-born Americans believe the Constitution is a higher legal authority than international law, only 37% of naturalized citizens agree. No wonder they vote 2-1 Democrat. The two largest immigrant groups, Hispanics and Asians, have little in common economically, culturally, or historically, but they overwhelmingly support big government, Obamacare, affirmative action, and gun control. Yep, gonna kill some babies, gonna take your guns. According to 2012 National Asian American Survey, as well as the Kaiser Foundation poll, only 40% of the general public holds a favorable opinion on Obamacare. 42% unfavorable. Meanwhile, 51% of Asians have a favorable opinion of Obamacare. 18% an unfavorable one. That means 82% are for it. Even Koreans support Obamacare, about 57% to 17%. Overall, 69% of immigrants like Obamacare, according to 2010 Cooperative Congressional Election Study. And then it gets into the guns, 80. I mean, it's just weird. It's over, man. It's over.
I'm Darren McBreen, and these are some of the new items that are available now at InfoWarsShop.com. Alert the public to Obama's blatant abuse of power with the new Obama t-shirt. Obama's Joker face on the front and come and take it on the back. It's time to publicly call him out for what he is, a tyrant. Defend the Second Amendment with our top seller Come and Take It t-shirts. And look at that, women's cut tank tops and t-shirts now available. Nice hat. Plus the Don't Tread on Me flag. And now you can become a micro distributor of the InfoWars magazine. Plus, get your own copy delivered right to your door each and every month. And if you're tired like I am of you and your family being exposed to polluted drinking water, get the Pro One high-performance water filter. It gets rid of all pathogenic bacteria, cyst, fluoride, heavy metals, and numerous other contaminants. So join the revolution at InfoWarsShop.com.
And so it is Western hospitality and the Western idea of lifting people up that has had our borders be so wide open. Not just here, but in the original Europe. The problem is the globalist political class are creating division. Humans are naturally tribal or racist. Now, if people's tribal idea is liberty and freedom and a shared common goal for human empowerment, then we could be a multiracial cultural system. But the Democrats and the socialists in Europe are cheating. They claim with one hand they want this empowerment when they actually want people controlled by the state and then fighting with each other. And that's why we should deport most of the illegals. We should treat the immigrants a third the way Mexico treats them. And if that happened, people would pull their hair out. So, hey, don't worry, those of you out there that think overrunning the country with people from all over the world, could be stopped. Only if we reach into the minds of the people and get them to understand the globalist program. But the globalists want to bankrupt everyone anyways, so you have to be dependent on government regardless. You've got to either have a total shift and awakening, or humanity as we know it is done. But the third world itself is being targeted and abused and destroyed by the globalists. Mexico has been destroyed by NAFTA and GATT. They're forcing those poor people off their land at gunpoint for 30 years and forcing them up to Mexico City to live in conditions worse than the movie Soylent Green. My heart goes out to those people. My heart goes out to the 11-year-olds by law in Mexico, totally unconstitutional even under their law, giving them the deadly Gardasil shot that was killing people 9 years ago in trials. And again, I'll say this. Where is Mecha? Where is La Raza, the race, the clan? Where are all these groups trying to warn Hispanics? They're not. They're there to use you, just like the black leaders are a bunch of pimps over their people. And just like the white Republican leaders using race politics themselves are selling everybody out with open borders right now because they're all globalist pawns. Let's go to Ryan, then we'll go to Dax, Barbara, Derek, and others. I appreciate everybody holding. Ryan in Kentucky, you're on the air.
Good morning, Alex.
Hey, buddy.
Yeah, I got well, first of all, I'm a long-time listener, first-time caller. I've got just a quick comment and then a question for you. First of all, I want to tell you that I do pray for you, and I pray for the InfoWar, because we're all in this together.
We are.
We are, and it's inspired me. And a group of us here locally, we've actually got something called the Oz Movement. You know, like the Wizard of Oz, who's really behind the curtain.
Well, that's a great idea.
Sprinkling literature, to everybody, to just get them to look the right way, to quit looking towards Lord Obama, who's really behind the curtain. And for example, we go to like some of the hell places around here, and we'll put like a little pamphlet there that has InfoWar Life on it, and it routes them to real good quality products, and maybe that way it provides a little opening for them. And by the way, I want to plug your Super Male Vitality. It works, and it works very well. So if anybody had any doubt about that, don't have any. It's a wonderful tool in the InfoWars.
Well, listen, I used it for 4 months in the formulation before we even put it out, and Dr. Group boasts to me privately that this is the most powerful raw liquid herbs, not from dry, in a special proprietary system of concentrating it out. So I would say use it responsibly. Believe me, it's the real deal, and it's available at InfoWarsLife.com. Thanks for the plug. What's your point on the immigration?
Well, actually, it's about the North American Union. First of all, for anybody out there who really honestly believes that Obama or any of them really honestly care about the average person, what I was looking for was he going to fulfill his promise to overturn NAFTA. You can go to YouTube, you can put in Obama and NAFTA, and you can see him promising that he was going to overturn it. Then when he becomes president, it's never mentioned again.
Now you can watch The Alex Jones Show live as it happens at Infowars.com/show.
You'll find links to all of our content there and a free 15-day trial for Prison Planet TV.
More than 60 movies and documentaries all in one place at Infowars.com/show.
They're phasing out cash. They're trying to get national and regional and state laws passed worldwide through continuity of government and continuity of agenda to not let people be free and independent and local, and to phase out cash and to phase out barter. And when you hear about the Amero that was proposed in Money magazine back in the 80s, 1989, and it's been promoted on CNN and things, we would then talk about the Amero, the planned North American currency, and they would say, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist. Well, we weren't saying even then that the Amero would end up being adopted. The point is, it was one of the competing ideas of regional currencies before a global currency. But that was discussed in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. And then Lou Dobbs picked it up in the last decade and things. We're already under global currency with this special drawing rights, derivatives, credit default swaps, and scores of other synthetic financial instruments that are simply fancy, accepted establishment counterfeit. If you go back to the Bank of England 300 years ago, they would have 10 pounds of paper money out there for every pound of actual British sterling silver in their vault. And so that became the global standard in fractional reserve banking, that countries would not allow their banks, both government or private, to loan out more than 10 times the paper for what they had actual metal. That's where checks started, going back into Egypt, going back into Rome. You would have a piece of paper with the signet of the Lord or the Caesar saying, this is redeemable for 500 cows. Now, let us rent your 20 ships or whatever to take this grain to Alexandria. Hypothetical. So it's a system past barter. And then the Rothschilds 500 years ago in Germany, they began to get really good at having gold pawn shops everywhere, and then doing a form of payoff of local lords of letting them bring them gold and stuff, but checking out 10 times or more actual Rothschild paper than what was actually in the bank, and then not making them ever pay it back. So it was a form of buying off government, form of bribery. And then you'd have runs on banks where people would try to bring their paper back, and there wouldn't be enough gold or silver in there to redeem it. But it wouldn't matter because the local lord had already been given massive amounts of wealth from the fiat system, and so he would station his guards. Sometimes it would be brigade level, thousands of troops outside of the palaces of the banker and outside of his regional pawn shops. And that's what we see today. But they want to transcend completely the fractional reserve banking. So in the last 30 years, worldwide, they've stopped doing that, which let them take over. And they've gone to just pure counterfeit derivatives and other systems. Now, out of the crisis that's created, they want global cashless society backed up with 100 trillion every few years of carbon taxes, Tobin taxes, money transfer taxes, wellhead taxes on all human activity paid to them to enshrine value in it. They're also debating whether it'll be partially gold-backed. It's going to be a spectrum. This is what it's going to be, because I've covered Davos. I follow their writings. It's going to be a spectrum of commodities they can manipulate. Oil, sweet crude, gold, silver, palladium, you name it, the whole spectrum. And then a spectrum of carbon and a spectrum of other indexes they can play and manipulate as well. And then everyone will be tied into this global digital panopticon control system, and they'll tax you for every transfer. Again, as the Tobin tax, for every credit under the wellhead tax, global, regional, local, because computers can divide it all out. So everyone will get behind it at the government level, getting their little cut of VAT sales taxes. It is going to be unbelievable. And it's going to transfer the wealth to the select corporations that write the laws that will be partially or fully exempt from the taxation aggregate model. It is the total form of slavery, total form of total unfair weights and balances, inequality. There are not really words to describe the magnitude of the global plan. So they're going to bypass the North American Union currency entirely. They have a North American travel ID, I don't know, was it 5, 6, 7 years old, that people that get signed on to this can travel to Canada, Mexico, or the U.S. back and forth. You'll have regional flavors. You'll still have dollars. You'll still have pesos. You'll still have the Canadian money. You'll still have, but it will all be digitally demarcated in the larger system. Kind of like there's, last time I checked, 15 different regional Sports Illustrateds magazines you can get, or video subscriptions. It's the same deal, but it's all Sports Illustrated. So everybody's looking for a chip in the arm. It'll be your face scan you buy and sell with. Everyone's looking for, you know, some big brother thing. It's already, you're already carrying it around and paying $500, $300, $200 for it, a smartphone. So it's already here. We're already in it. It's already going on. It's already happening. You know, I told you they'd use this big drone rollout to have a freak out about drones. Then they would ban citizens having remote control airplanes or helicopters. And now as a gimmick, they were delivering beer and ice to ice fishermen. You know, flying the beer at 100 feet or even lower. The video I saw looked like 50 feet out to ice fishermen. Totally legal. There's no FAA regulation below 300 feet, but they're now imposing it, shutting it down. And that article's up on Infowars.com with Steve Watson with the video right now. Beer drone viral prompts slap down from government. Company owner finds himself on FAA blacklist. See, you got ice fishermen out there. And I mean, look, that drone is at like 15 feet, totally safe, bringing a 12-pack of brew with a camera. And it's a total gimmick just to have a viral video. And then the blonde comes in to the guys, and, you know, they're all having a great time when they're ice fishing, and she drinks a beer. And then the government comes and slaps it down, just like the girl that was baking cupcakes at home and selling it, and she ended up in the paper. So they send basically militarized zoning people there saying you've got to own a bakery. You can't do this. The idea is you can't have a garden in your backyard and sell fruit now. You can't have chickens in areas where you could have chickens. This is Agenda 21, the opposite of sustainability. And I told you, somebody will try to deliver stuff with a drone, they're going to ban it. Government shuts down 11-year-old cupcake business, but the NFL is tax exempt when they make billions a year. I mean, well, of course, they're part of the mafia. And they put Obama in the NFL intro. And they say guns are bad. They say Obamacare is good. And they're a big gladiatorial diversion. They're our new culture. So, of course, they're exempt. Google, Microsoft, Apple, General Electric, the top Fortune 100 are almost completely tax exempt. Learn the facts, Jack. And they're the ones lobbying for higher taxes on the middle class. They're the ones lobbying for open borders. Gee, they're the ones lobbying for Obamacare. Do you think Everything they do is to screw everybody. But, oh, now, be nice to the immigrants. They're so sweet. Legalize them. We already legalize more than any other country. And as soon as they get here, they're indoctrinated to hate America, to hate guns, to hate the family. And to love Gardasil and to love aspartame. Let's go ahead and talk to Dax in Utah. So I hope I answered the guy's question. Dax in Utah, you're on the air. Thanks for holding.
Hey, Alex, how you doing?
I'm all right, brother. Thanks for calling.
Yeah, I just wanted to basically make a comment. Basically, everything you said about the illegals, there's way more than 12 million illegal aliens in the United States. There's easily 35 to 40 million, but they never want to come out.
It was confirmed to be 31 million like a decade ago.
Well, yeah, and I'm here in Utah, and we're just overloaded with them. I mean, you go to any place, and I hear more people speaking Spanish than English.
I mean, look, there's nothing but Spanish signs everywhere. And my whole issue is, again, I shouldn't have to qualify this. It's the fact that they're literally being turned into Democratic Party operatives and voting to literally make me their slave. And, I mean, it's incredible. I mean, where in history can they bring in foreigners to then use a voting system to enslave everyone?
The Republicans are never going to get. There'll probably never be another Republican president because all these red states are going to turn blue, and they'll vote him in. And another comment I have is, it's been several years ago. They had a big rally down in Salt Lake. There was easily over 100,000 illegals protesting down there for their citizenship, and it was kind of funny. I listened to you every day on the radio, and you had the mayor of Salt Lake, the Rocky Anderson.
Yeah,
you had him on the radio with you, and he was one of the main guys leading the group. He was 100% in support of it. He led the entire group of 100,000 down Main Street there, and I was down there protesting against it. I just couldn't believe that a current mayor of the city would be down there in support of easily over 100,000. I mean,
and I don't even think he's a bad guy. A lot of people actually believe this is a good thing. The problem is that they use it as a political tool. It is a form of subterfuge. It is a form of subversion. And the entire power structure is behind it. So it's easy for people to get behind it because that's the plan. And I'm telling you, folks, they will ban the guns. They will jack the taxes up to 90%, just like France. This is the plan. Good to hear from you, sir. Let's talk to Derek in Ohio. Derek, you're on the air.
Yes. Hola. Muchas gracias. Hello. Thank you, Alex. Yeah, I wanted to share that my wife and I have experience living and traveling down in South America, Latin America, specifically in Argentina, Paraguay, Bolivia, and a little bit of time in Peru. And we were volunteering on organic farms and staying with friends and local people. And my comment also has to tie in with the topic of the exit plan, leaving the country that you're talking about on Tuesday. And what we found was that by running from our fears, they always have a way of finding you. And what we found a lot of good experiences down there. We learned a lot, but ultimately what we were running from, there was a lot of it already in place down there. Oh, no,
exactly. That's what I always try to explain to people. The whole world is under this corrupt system.
Yeah, you travel on the bus. I mean, we've traveled coast to coast from Peru to Buenos Aires back. We've traveled across Paraguay through the Gran Chaco into Bolivia and back across, seeing just the corruption, bribery, the way of life with police. It's normal down there the police and the military, they look the same. But they didn't have the attitude, the aggressiveness, I guess, we're seeing here. But it was very common to see military police through the cities, with rifles outside of banks. Everything was peaceful, but all the people were used to it down there.
No, that's it. I mean, for people that don't know, America looks like a third world country now in every way. The militarized police, all of it. This is what it is to be slaves.
do have Monsanto. Our friends in Argentina, who a small family, they're describing the same things. They have their own little dairy farm just for them, and just selling to their friends in the town there outside Buenos Aires. And they described to us about how many farmers and people out in the country, the campesinos, were getting kicked off their land, and these giant monopolistic agro-business of soy, genetically modified soy that, of course, is shipped up to Europe and the United States and Canada.
No, that's it. These global corporations are destroying the cultures down there, and so that's why you can't blame these people trying to get up here. My issue is it doesn't matter, because once they get here, they're being turned into globalists, and so it's a total war, and it's just horrible. Listen, I was down there 30 years ago. I was about 10 years old. I appreciate your call, brother. And we were in Cancun, and Cancun was very small then. And my dad was reading the brochures in English and Spanish that said, you can buy land in Mexico. And he's always like, well, if you're not a Mexican citizen, you can never buy land. He said, this is strange. So we went and talked to the company. We drove out south of there, looked at these plots of land, oceanfront, and they said, well, this is UN land. And we made the natives have been moved off of this. They've been there for thousands of years. And my dad went and did research and found out a decade before under UN, they had huge gun battles down there with the Mayans and forced them off their property all over southern Mexico. And my dad said, well, that's immoral. I'm not going to buy land down here, and then you pay to have a beach house put on it. And now we've been down there. It's all built up and beautiful, and there's all these Westerners living down there. But literally wealthy and middle-class people moved down there not even knowing. The Mexicans had already been kicked off their land decades before. And now they won't even let the Mexicans fish in places like, what's that island I've been to so many times off the coast there? No, it's off southern Mexico. It's off Yucatan. It's it'll pop in my head in a minute. Cozumel and others, and they don't let them fish there now. But the big trawlers can. It's all Agenda 21, and it's just no one has a lobby. The people don't have a lobby. It's like we paid $22 billion to move General Motors to China. I mean, it's all over the top, outrageous.
Visit Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. When you're on the site, you can also tune in 24 hours a day to my daily radio broadcast. There's also a free iPhone app to listen to the syndicated radio show when and where you want.
And they're using poor, desperate immigrants worldwide, whether it's Australia, Europe, the United States, to come in as a political army and to form the new enforcer class, police, military, you name it. And that's how the globalists are engaged in a revolution against freedom. The answer to this is to try to wake the immigrants that are here up, because historically, they vote anti-freedom, and at the same time, to try to block as many of them as we can. And it just comes down to that. I mean, look, we should want skilled workers, not unskilled. There's none of these countries take unskilled. Only America, to a great extent. And look at Switzerland. They only take extremely skilled. And look at how well Switzerland's doing. I mean, people aren't going to want to come here because we're becoming a third world country. We're really pooping in the pool here, folks. I mean, that's what's going on. And it's a bottom line fact. Now, I want to go back to your calls. We're going to continue into the next hour. Jakari Jackson going to be joining us from New Jersey there at the site of the 48th gladiatorial castration event, where men don't go out and be real men in their lives. They watch simulated combat and worship the men they watch on TV. We're going to be discussing that. We're going to go to Mike and Kevin and Lorraine and Carmen and Morgan and others here in a moment. Briefly, I was plugging PrisonPlanet.tv. I cannot explain to you how important it is to support real media. The dinosaur media is dying. That's why they're trying to get all their agenda through right now. We have a chance of turning this around. 2014 legislatively is everything. And we're putting on just incredible TV shows every night, and the research and the live coverage at PrisonPlanet.tv. If you're not using your membership or you haven't gotten a membership, now is the time. You can get 5+ months free right now when you sign up for a year, or it's $5.95 a month. 11 people can use it simultaneously. And the reason I'm promoting this last segment and this segment is I never promote it, and it's such a key part of the fight against the globalist. And it takes about a minute to sign up. Lastly, you can go to InfoWarsStore.com or call toll-free 888-253-3139 to get books and films like Strategic Relocation, to understand the safest parts of the U.S., economically, culturally, you name it, to get the very highest quality nutrients and vitamins and supplements, not just that we've produced, but that others have produced at the very lowest prices. The best water filtration systems that cut out the fluoride, the glyphosates, that annihilate the competition side by side, or I'd be selling the competition. All this and more at InfoWarsStore.com or by calling toll-free 888-253-3139. That's 888-253-3139. And the Republican Party is working with the Democrats to gut this nation once and for all. Absolutely gut this nation and absolutely bring in immigrant populations with no history of freedom who will be clients of the establishment to complete our journey into slavery. Just now breaking at Infowars.com. We'll cover it after the break. Chief of police harassed by feds, fired after signing pledge to uphold Constitution. Unbelievable. Sheriff orders Shane Harger to disband entire police department due to political affiliations, when all these other big police chiefs in these big cities are total Democrats, you know, and go speak at Obama events and stuff. This is incredible. And you can't have a mention of the Constitution at the Olympics either, or a pro-gun ad at the Super Bowl, or a Christian song nominated for the Oscars has been banned. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Let's go to your phone calls. Mike in California, you're on the air. Welcome.
Alex, brother, thanks for having me. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. What's on your mind today, my friend?
Brother, you know, I reread some of the cable leaks covering the NAU, and tell you what, folks need to wake up. As you know, Hispanics are set to surpass us in March. Everybody knows that. And I look at just the collaboration on both sides of the aisle of Republicans, Democrats, and just wanting to gut this country. And the last thing on my mind, sir, is I'm a gun enthusiast. Smith & Wesson and Ruger have been driven out of California due to the micro-stamping mandate.
Yep.
I wanted to get your thoughts on that because there's no proof, first off, that micro-stamping cuts down on crime. And secondly, I see it as really a backdoor mechanism to drive out gun sales in California further. So if I could get your thoughts on that. Lastly, I do want to plug that coffee. It's wonderful, and please keep up the fight, brother.
God bless you. I appreciate your call. Yeah, no, we covered that. That was like in Reuters 2 days ago, that Smith & Wesson, Ruger, they're leaving California. They're not going to sell there because they want to make you micro-stamp with the hammer, the firing pin, to then tell what gun, it came from, as if thieves won't just file that off. And then they can make guns that don't have it illegal and taxes on the ammunition. They want to ban guns, except for themselves, who all have armed bodyguards, the politicians. Of course criminals want to take our guns. We got to just call it like it is. Americans have been so reasonable, so nice, that we will put up with anything that nobody else does. And we are a laughingstock across the world. There's the headline. Smith & Wesson to end most California sales due to micro-stamping regulation. And now they've shut down the last lead smelter in the country. You can hardly mine gold or silver here because there's so many regulations. And some regulations were reasonable, but now it's meant to shut things down. I mean, they're telling coal power plants you can't have water vapor and carbon dioxide come out. They've listed carbon dioxide as toxic waste. Meanwhile, in China, there's nothing in the smokestack. Just everything comes out. It blows around the atmosphere to us. They can build 3 new plants a week. We're shutting down more than 3 plants a week. This is the shutdown of society. And it's just total economic tyranny where the politicians are run by foreign interest who can instantly double and triple their profits by shutting us down because they own the competition sectors. It's really elementary. Let me just run over some of the news that I haven't gotten to yet here as quickly as we can. Let's just hit this first because I mentioned it but haven't played it yet. This is Wasserman Schultz, who's always saying tyrannical things. Democrat from Florida says the president is going to have to use his executive authority. And that woman looks like an absolute moron. You know, you've got to remember that most of these Democrats are just gutter sludge. And that, you know, they're like, well, we got to ban clips because you throw the clip or the magazine away every time you shoot it, and that'll ban the clips soon. There'll be no more clips left, duh. And you know, Guam might flip if we put more bases on it. It might capsize. I mean, that's who the globalists want in power, is absolute sniveling morons. And, you know, I'm sorry, but when you look in somebody's eyes, you can tell that Wasserman Schultz probably has about a 75 IQ. But she still has the cunning of a highwayman. So look out, boys and girls. Wasserman Schultz is coming to get you. Here's some other news here out of Market Watch. Gold settles higher, volatile after Fed decision. Emerging market fears boost gold's investment appeal. And again, the private run-for-profit Federal Reserve has announced they're going to be trimming monthly $10 billion of the unlimited trillions they've been giving themselves. Markets and emerging currencies recover after U.S. growth data. Growth is down. And the announcement, again, to trim the program by $10 billion to $65 billion per month that they give to select groups. So that's just some of the news on that front. Clapper, the guy that committed felony perjury before Congress, saying the NSA doesn't spy on Americans, calls for Snowden and accomplices to return NSA documents. That's a funny one. That is a really funny little joke out of Herr Clapper. And then continuing here, vulnerable Democrats distance themselves from Obama after State of the Union speech. Well, I mean, why are they distancing themselves? I guess this is out of Time magazine. I mean, everything's great. I mean, isn't open borders popular, even though it's not? I mean, isn't Obamacare popular, even though it isn't? Isn't banning guns popular, even though it isn't? I mean, they're a paper tiger, but the Republican leadership is bought and paid for by the same traitorous, larcenous interest, and that's why they're doing it. Unbelievable that this is all unfolding and happening. And what we need to see is more of what Congressman Randy Weber said, saying Obama is the commandant-in-chief of prison America and is a lying socialist dictator. Yes, 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 I like Randy Weber. Please try to get him on. His constituents, call him. Tell him to get on the show right now. Unbelievable. Here's another one. Republicans skeptical of Obama enacting agenda alone. Like saying the Reichstag is skeptical of the new Fuhrer acting alone. Meanwhile, Attorney General Eric Holder cannot explain constitutional basis for Obama's executive orders. Attorney General Holder couldn't explain the basis of it. He said, I'll be honest to you, on television, I don't remember looking at or having seen the analysis in some time, so I'm not sure where along the spectrum that would come from. Perfect. Just, I know nothing. I know nothing. Now they won't even debate it. They'll just say, I don't know. Well, it's an imperial presidency. And I mean, all Ted Cruz does is tell it like it is. And the media acts like it's oh my gosh, he said amnesty push will ruin hopes of retaking the Senate for Republicans. They're like, how dare you say that? Well, of course it will. They're giving them driver's licenses everywhere. I'll never forget an AP article like 7 years ago. The headline was something like, bank heads make it easier for immigrants to get houses. And they said, well, we know you don't really have IDs, so we're going to give you mortgages and stuff without any proof. Meanwhile, folks, I've got near perfect credit, and to get a house, I have to almost get a proctology exam. That's what, you know, my dad had a little company, a little holding company, that he gave me 18 years ago when I started up, or 17 years ago when I started my online shopping cart, when I had my first film, America's Destroyed by Design, to try to fund my operation. He helped me set up the computer and set up the online deal and, you know, helped me out. And he said, here, you can have this bank account. It's got like $1,000 in it. I haven't used it in years. It's a Bank of America bank account. And so I went and put money in that, started using that. And, you know, since have gotten rid of it, obviously. But I went in there do something with it years ago. I think it was deposit or open another account or something. And I had like 3 forms of ID. It wasn't enough. I had to get interrogated. It was all, and I was watching illegals. I mean, I know an illegal. Cowboy hat, dirty cowboy boots. It looks like a East Texan, but they're Mexican. Looks like a West Texan. Looks like a Texan. And they're sitting there cashing a check, no ID. And I'm like, excuse me, he didn't show an ID. And they went, sir, we have policies. And I don't, look, being a citizen and playing by the rules means you're a schmuck in this country, ladies and gentlemen. You got insurance, you're going to wait an hour. You're an illegal, you go to the front of the line because they've been told, bring them in, bring them in, bring them in. We're going to be reimbursed by the government. But with an insurance, now you're going to pay a lot more when you got insurance. They're going to rape you. Absolutely rape you. Continuing here with the ongoing news blitz, Representative Paul Ryan looking at legalizing. Oh, that's why he's been the darling of the Republicans and tried to take over the Tea Party. He tried to take it over. He failed. So that's just some of the news on that front. U.S. official, North Korea nuclear reactor restarted. Iran can now build and deliver nukes. U.S. intel reports. Times of Israel, they had nukes 6 years ago. I just want to tell you that. And so did Saudi Arabia. And you notice that's now coming out. Experts, China boosts space warfare capabilities. But don't worry, the NSA spying on the Tea Party. They'll keep us safe. Holder, new media guidelines in weeks. Claims they're going to talk about their new guidelines for harassing media. That's in Politico. And again, remember MSNBC ridiculing Mitt Romney's family adopting a black baby and saying, you know, it doesn't belong there and all that because they're total race pimps? Well, now they've had to apologize for controversial tweet about conservatives and Cheerios, saying conservatives will be mad about a Cheerios ad showing a multiracial family. I mean, no, it's the Ku Klux Klan Democratic Party that was. So you learned to pose as liberals so you could abort all the blacks and Mexicans while giving them Gardasil shots. And the blacks and Mexicans on average love you, so it's working. Fine, fine, kill them. I mean, I don't want to kill them. I don't want that on my soul. I want them to be free and own guns and own factories and build and go to space. But that's not going to happen. We're all just going to kill each other. I understand. I understand how it works. I understand I'm bad. I get it. I know. I understand. I'm informed. I'm a bad person. Let's go to some other news before I go to break and come back with your calls. This is at Infowars.com by Don Salazar. TSA Super Bowl fans may encounter Viper teams. Roving armed TSA, while they wave the known al-Qaeda groups and Muslim Brotherhood, certified terror groups through the TSA. Don't worry, though. You may get fingers literally in your body. Roving teams that will come up with guns and grope you and your wife and search everything. Isn't that just great? You can read all the details right here. And they're also warning of political activism. They don't want anybody grabbing the spotlight away from an event, even if you're outside of it, while they're teaching you that Gardasil shots are good and that GMO is good and that families are bad and Obama's good and taking your guns is good and then being groped is good. I mean, you're not going to get in the way of America's pastime, being slaves and paying thousands of dollars for the cheapest tickets. Symbols are powerful, and the globalists have hijacked the symbols of America. They've turned them into their own symbols. Well, we are restoring the idea of the true republic, not the counterfeit globalist empire, by promoting the icon George Washington and others. That's why we're rolling out an 100% made in America line of incredible pro-liberty apparel. We are repopularizing liberty. We are helping fellow Americans rediscover what made this country great. We are the spirit of 1776. We are 1776 worldwide. We are all brothers and sisters in arms in the animating contest of liberty in the long march towards humanity's ultimate destiny of freedom. Visit madein1776.com today and vote with your dollars to promote truly made in America, high-quality products, and promote the ideals of liberty. Let's go to your phone calls. Carmen in Pennsylvania, you want to talk about the North American Union that we're well into. Go ahead.
Hi, how are you today, Alex?
I'm all right. Thanks for calling.
Good. I just want to touch some issues that you've been talking about during today, not only the North American Union. I I am an immigrant and I am a citizen, and I just want to let you know, don't get discouraged. There is a lot of Hispanics and other immigrants that are trying to fight for our country and that are trying to do the right thing and are waking up, and we're organizing. We're trying to reach to our councilmen. We're trying to reach to our representatives. We're trying to...
Oh, no, listen, I know, because, I mean, not just American citizens that are Hispanic, but I run into immigrants, you name it, huge amount of listeners here in Austin. In fact, I'd say the majority of people that come up to me, they're listeners and really care what's going on, are Hispanic folks. The problem is the Democratic Party gets them immediately and begins the socialist indoctrination in the schools. So that's my only point is the whole power structure wants unlimited immigration to the country. What do you think about that?
I agree with what you're saying, and we're trying to intervene. We're trying to wake people up. We're trying to unionize. We're trying to organize. It is very hard, however, and it's one of the issues that I want to bring up and ask you suggestions because, for example, where I'm here in Pennsylvania, white Caucasians, whenever they try to see you, they're trying to have this prejudice and these preconceived ideas, and they think that you cannot be hand in hand with them trying to fight for our country. So when you find these organizations and you're trying to enroll with them and trying to be active and advocate and be a political activist, they put certain roadblocks for you not to join them just because you're from another race or just because they have this prejudice just because we're immigrants. So what would you suggest we can do in terms of that so we can fight?
Sure. I mean, it's very simple. Just because there's people that don't like immigrants because they're immigrants. I mean, over in England, you hear a lot of talk about all the Slavs that are moving in. I mean, who do you expect to come in and replace the fact that Brits don't have kids anymore? So I don't dislike Hispanics. I don't dislike Slavs, anybody. It's what's going on in their brains. So you've got to say, hey, that's a minority of white people that don't like Hispanics. And I know that for a fact. I don't care if you're white, Hispanic, who you are. We can't have unlimited if they put them on welfare. The country is going bankrupt. And they are voting overwhelmingly democratically, and we will lose our guns. So regardless, there's racist on both sides. That's not the issue. The issue is the power structure that's bad wants the open borders, and we cannot have that. God bless you. Good to hear that you're listening to the broadcast. Let's talk to Kevin in Canada. Then we'll go to Atemo, I think's the name, and Laureen and Morgan. Go ahead. You're on the air.
Alex, let me give you a little bit of Canadian passion. 10 tours. 10 tours, and you have people there standing and clapping. They should have been sitting in their seats, looking at each other awkwardly, speechless. I almost see the American society totally degenerating to the point where...
No military in history has made a soldier fight 10 years. That is the most abusive evil. World War II, it was 1, maybe 2 of you re-upped. Audie Murphy tried to re-up, and they said no. I mean, unbelievable that they would have people serve 10 tours. That is so abusive. Go ahead.
In the 1900s, your population was about 76 million. That is now your welfare class. Your forefathers fought for a republic, and you folks have squandered it to a holographic democracy. And what really sort of struggled me these days is that I've been watching you for about 15 years, all the way back to Waco. And the amount of information that you've provided me with has literally given me like a $10,000 education at minimum. But the problem I have is that I'm not the only person hearing this, yet nothing's changing. It's literally getting worse.
Renowned author and expert Joel Skousen breaks down the globalist plan to shut down America and stage a new world war.
In one day, America will go from day to night. And if you haven't prepared in advance, there's not enough time to prepare in 24 hours, even if you saw it that early.
Coming to the InfoWar in November is our new documentary film presentation.
Strategic relocation is a systematic way to think strategically in the future about how do I safeguard.
Joel Skousen, Strategic Relocation.
The freeways are going to be crowded, they're going to run out of gasoline, they're going to run out of food, and then they're going to start to go north and south of those freeways.
Joel Skousen is renowned as one of the world's foremost experts in strategic relocation and the securing of your home.
We talk about natural disasters, the health environment, we talk about pollution, the water quality. My personal experience about being in every one of these states.
Government is digging in for the organized, incremental collapse of society and world war.
The U.S. isn't building huge underground bases and bunkers because of some terrorist threat. They know that a massive nuclear attack is coming. They want that attack to come. Most people won't even be ready and won't be able to get out of town when any of these nuclear weapons fall, because there'll be absolute panic.
There is no preparedness without strategy.
What I tell people is that you do have time. Prepare wisely in advance.
This Christmas, give the gift of preparedness. Strategic Relocation, the film, with Joel Skousen and Alex Jones.